People of Reddit, what is the most out-of-pocket thing your doctor has said to you? Me waking up after emergency surgery because my appendix ruptured. Doctor, pick 3 of your favorite foods you'd love to eat right now. Me pizza, steak, wings. Doctor, those sounds amazing. Too bad you won't be able to eat any of that stuff for at least a week. I was having abdominal pain, so my primary care physician scheduled me for an x-ray. The doctor showed me the film while looking me dead in the eye and said, "You're literally full of shit." Me to my oral surgeon a month ago. I've really neglected my oral health because of my longtime fear of dentists. Him, well, I guess you faked up, didn't you? I just laughed because he wasn't wrong and I can appreciate the bluntness. Instead of the standard, "Are you sexually active?" the doctor asked if I was sexually promiscuous. I found that pretty amusing. I told my doc that my butthole gets irritated sometimes. He said I can schedule an appointment to get it looked at if I want, but please schedule it in person. He said a patient once scheduled a video appointment with him and showed him their butthole with their iPad camera. Fingers deep in me during a routine checkup. She says, "Yep, it's a girl referring to me. Appendix burst. Doc sent me to hospital ASAP." Once there, a doctor said to my parents, "Oh, it's just a young kid who is faking it. Take him home, give him some Panadol, water, and send him to bed. He will be fine." Later that night, I can't walk, getting rushed back into hospital with surgery prepped ASAP. This may seem a little uncomfortable, but I've had another patient with high prolactin and we found out he stimulates his nipples excessively. So, do you? My husband went to a doctor about chronic back and neck pain in his 20s. The doctor felt his back, looked in his mouth, and told him he had myotonic muscular dystrophy. He told my husband there was no real treatment and that he would be wheelchair-bound within a few years. Then he referred him to a specialist. We were newlyweds with active hobbies. My husband was a mechanic who made a living off physical labor. We were devastated. A few weeks later, he saw the specialist, who promptly informed him that the previous doctor was blatantly wrong. They did genetic testing to confirm he didn't have it. Turns out he had mild scoliosis and arthritis. Fuck that first doctor though. Had surgery that needed a G-tube. I went home after a month and it was still in. When I was hungry, the stitch would rub the skin as my stomach growled. Had to go to a couple days later, false alarm heart attack, and the attendant came down to see me. Asked him to take out the G-tube and he surprisingly agreed. His name was Mo. Asked Mo if it was gonna hurt, he said nah. Then proceeded to cut the stitch and said giddy up just like fucking Kramer and pulled it out like he was starting a lawnmower. He put a gauze on the hole and told me to hold it. He'd be right back. Thinking that he went to get a suture kit was plain silly and wrong. Fucking guy comes in with a Smurf Band-Aid and slaps it on the hole. He must have seen the horror in my face and he said doesn't need stitches, but don't eat any mac and cheese for a while, then walked out the door. Had a doctor quit casting my arm and say let me go YouTube it before leaving the room. I went to the dermatologist for my acne. She walked in and said, "All right, let's fix your face. To watch my language with you," to which I said no. He visibly relaxed and loudly proclaimed, "Thank fucking God," and started discussing my health frankly, but with enough swears to make a sailor blush. My favorite GP ever. Made sure I saw him yearly till he left the practice. The doctor ran into my room yelling, "Oh my God." Then said, "We have to get you to the hospital. The last person I saw here with this had to have a lot of flesh removed." She then proceeded to show me photos of the patient with flesh removed. It was absolutely horrific. I had a spider bite on my elbow. It started off as a very sore spot that felt like I hit my elbow on something. 3 hours later, my entire arm was red, swollen, and hot. When I bent my arm, a steady stream of clear liquid poured out of my elbow. There was no question about how bad this was. The doctor was adamant that I go to the hospital and spend a week with an intravenous drip of antibiotics. She thought that even with antibiotics, I might lose part of my arm. It was obviously a very bad situation, but I live in the US and didn't have insurance. I had gone to the hospital first, but I was turned away. It's not legal for them to do this, but I was young and inexperienced, so I left after the lady at the desk berated me, yelling that you can't expect to just walk in here with no money, ... I then went to a walk-in clinic, which is where this doctor was. The doctor may not have been good at hiding her fear and panic, but she absolutely saved my arm and quite possibly my life. For the following week, I went to see her twice a day and she gave me a series of shots and pills. She had a closet full of salesmen's samples that she gave me, so all the drugs were free of charge. Even though I went there 14 times, I was only charged for the first day's visit, which was only $100. This doctor saved me tens of thousands of dollars. I think of that doctor often and hope that life has treated her as well as she treated me. Emmy, when doctor told me my appendix is going to likely rupture before he can operate on me. When your appendix ruptures, don't you die? Doctor, oh, that is a very good possibility. Geez, thanks doc. Guess I'll see you again in 12 hours. My ex-husband booped my butthole, even made a boop noise and then laughed. My husband was in the room and after she left he asked if that was normal. No sir, that was not fucking normal. I started seeing a new family doctor a few weeks ago. I had a rough bout of pneumonia. The doctor started asking questions since I was a new patient. He asked what kind of birth control I'm on. I told him I'm not on any since my husband and I may want another baby. He goes, you should be on birth control. No one has babies on purpose. And I'm like, both of my children were planned. And he was like, you have to. So no time for intimacy? You could just read a book and let your husband go at it for 10 minutes. I'm all WTF. I'm here because I have pneumonia. Why is this even a topic right now? I will never go back. Not directly to me, but I went in to ask for a referral for a breast reduction, and I brought my then boyfriend, now husband. The doctor fully turned away from me and asked if my boyfriend of like 6 months was okay with me getting a reduction. He said I don't give a fuck. It's not my body. Why would you ask me? The doctor then said no, because I might regret it. Most people prefer the look of large breasts, according to this doctor. Therefore, I should just suffer. Might be true for big boobs, but not for the kind of big that I'm dealing with. I was 19 and went to Planned Parenthood to do a biopsy of my cervix because my pap smear came back abnormal. The doc performing the biopsy was an old man. Said it shouldn't hurt, it's just uncomfortable. Lies. It was one of the most painful things I've ever experienced. He says, well, I hope it was worth having unprotected sex and you learned your lesson. Which made me cry even harder. He had the nerve to ask the medical assistant in the room if I was crying, like he couldn't hear it. I saw her face and she just nodded, and you can tell she felt awful. Afterwards, as I'm walking out, he said, it's okay if you're on top of it. You won't die or anything. I never went back there. Apparently, he still works there. This was 7 years ago. I'm still traumatized. After the doctor performed the surgery to fix my heel bone. Ended up meaning 6 screws and a plate. On a follow-up visit, asked when it will stop hurting and the doctor said, when you die. The most straight to the point answer ever given. I've told this story on Reddit before. Nurse is in room with me doing the pre-visit questionnaire thing. Young guy asked about birth control. I had an IUD which was written on the paper he was going over. Him, I see you have an IUD. Is it, installed? Me in what I thought was a joking tone, no. It sits in my nightstand and I lick it every really. Me, no, of course it's installed. He said he didn't know how those worked. They never did one because no one needed one on his clinicals, and since he's not an NP, he didn't need to learn to do one. I thought it was hilarious. Thanks for watching.